Welcome back. So now we have our interface, and just briefly, where's the interface placed? Well, that's actually right here. It's an interface right here inside the data logic layer. So here it is. Here's the interface of our new IPersonManager, and that's actually available from this view right here if we want to. So I can get it from up there because it's public. So what I'm going to do now is make an implementation of this interface. I'm going to right now you cannot use it for anything because it's not implemented. So to implement stuff you need to have the curly brackets. That's not allowed inside an interface. An interface is just a contract. So we have to extend this interface or use this interface. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to make a new folder. That's at least how I like to do it. I like to make a folder when things are hidden from the outside. And our managers are going to be hidden from the outside. The interfaces will be available from the outside, but the manager is going to be hidden. So I'll add the implementation here by just adding a simple class. Add class. It'll pop up here. I'll call it PersonManager. Now notice I can call this the PersonManager without the I in front of it. And now though these two are bound together, that's just one way to do it. So let's actually just rename it so it's going to be like PersonManagerFakeDB. So I'm pressing Control R twice. And then I'll call it PersonManagerFakeDB. Let me just zoom so you can see the name here. There we go. PersonFakeDB, because we're going to make other person managers later. So it's just to kind of show you here how you could do it. There we go. Let's save that. And it's renamed. This won't be public. This will stay internal. If you don't put a name in here, it will be automatically internal, but you can also add the name internal in front if you're still in doubt of that. But let's just keep it empty in my case because I know it's internal. Now the FakeDB is going to use my interface. So it's going to use my IPersonManager interface. When I do that, I explain to this implementation class what it needs to provide. And as a bare minimum, I'll just do a control dot here. It needs to use and create these two functions because that's what the interface tells me. The interface tells me this is a contract mate and you have to use at least these two functions. You can add more, but if you want to call yourself an IPersonManager, you need these two functions. So what it's doing is it's telling me if you want to be an IPersonManager, you better just add the functions. And I'll say yes, I will. I'll say finish, and now I have the two functions available, and it's an IPersonManager now. It's allowed as an IPersonManager. Now the problem is right now that nothing is implemented yet. So let's just make a very basic implementation of the manager here. So I'll make a list here in the top. I'll just make a list of persons. There we go. And I'll call it persons FakeDB. Like this is just a fake database, just playing around with it. New list of person. Now, if you notice, Resharp actually helped me out just auto completing this line. That's kind of awesome. So let's, if you want to get the persons, it's pretty simple. We just want to return the entire list. If we want to add to the persons list, we're going to do something specific here. We're going to actually create a new person to do that. Because we're going to need an ID if this was a real database. So let's add an ID here in the top. I'll just do an int ID here. It'll be an internal ID. I'll call it 1 in the beginning. And what I want to do is actually I want to create a new person. So I want to say persons, add persons, add, and then in here I'm going to do a new person. Now the reason is that even though somebody sent in a person, I want to actually make sure that that person has the right name. So I'm going to just copy what he has into the name. Because I want the person class to not only contain a person, but I also want it to contain something else. I want it to contain an ID. So I'm going to add in the person class a new integer. So that's going to be a prop, and I'm going to call that an int, and I'm going to call that ID. Because I want to be able to identify each person using an integer value. So back to the fake manager. When I add a person, I'm going to add him to the database, and then I'm just going to give him an ID here. And that's going to be the local ID ++. So the first is going to be called 1, then 2, then 3 in ID. And now there are some I'm not going to spend too much time here, but there are some issues here. If we recreate this guy, the IDs will start over and stuff like that. Doesn't matter, it's just going to be a very stupid local list. So I just want to try this out to show you how to use it. So I return person that I just created, and that's actually going to be this guy. So I'm going to make a person locally here, added person. There we go, and that added person is going to be equal to the new person that comes in from the outside. So what does this do? Well, I wanna create a person that actually also contains the ID like this. Now we can do it in different ways. This is just one way to do it. I know I could do it in different ways. I could just add the ID afterwards and on the person directly. It's up to you how you want to do it. This was just a choice for this fake database. I don't want to stay here too much longer. So now we actually add a person and return the person. One more thing I want to do though is I just want to add a constructor here, because I want to start out by just having a few persons in my system, so that if this was used by UI, then he could actually just use it. So there we go. I'll just make a simple constructor. All I want to do is just add a few persons, new person. There we go, and let's give this guy a name. He will be called John. Later I'll show you how we can avoid being able to set the ID now from the outside. Let's just give the name of John instead of name, and Jack here. There we go. So now we have made a person manager, and that person manager is implementing the methods that are required to call itself an IPersonManager. Next time we'll start using it. See you in the next lesson.